Napoleon. She froze as the French cavalry pursued the men through the field, slashing at necks, shoulders, the horses rearing, their hooves striking down any man who tried to protect himself with bayonet or sword. Minutes passed, or hours. Hen tried to peer towards the ridge, but already the battle smoke was too thick to make out what was happening. Even as she looked, the haze spread towards them. More redcoats ran past, screaming, dying under the hooves of the cavalry horses or from sabre cuts. So many men trying vainly to escape. Surely the battle had not been lost so soon. Napoleon had won the skirmishes at Ligny and Quatre, but even he could not have defeated all the Allied armies within an hour, Hen assured herself. More men and horses appeared like apparitions in the smoke, then vanished, and then surged forwards once more. At last the French cavalry retreated, a waving mass of red feathers and the glint of steel. There was no need for her father to tell her that it was impossible to head to Mont-Saint-Jean now. Instead, Surgeon Gilbert managed to grab the sleeve of one of the fleeing redcoats. He and his friends hesitated, staring at Hen, then her father, then back to Hen again, unmistakably female despite her army coat, her gold plaits shining under her cap. "We need to form a square," ordered Surgeon Gilbert. "Hurry, you louts, if you want to live." The first man stared at him. "I ain't got enough men to form a square. Use the dead to build the walls," said Surgeon Gilbert shortly. The man blinked, then gestured to his companions. Assisting a surgeon in a defended square suddenly seemed safer than retreat harried by French cavalry, especially if, by some miracle, and the inspired leadership of the Duke of Wellington, the Allied side won. Slowly other soldiers joined them, packing the bodies 3 or 4 deep at the base till the walls of dead were chest-high, tall enough to shelter the living as the tides of battle swept back and forth, low enough to let them fire at the enemy, leaving a small gap that would let in a man but not a horse. A square was impregnable if each man held his position and kept his firearms loaded. Even cavalry could not penetrate an infantry square as long as the men who made up each side held their nerve. This square was doubly impregnable. The dead who made its walls could not retreat. Hen and her father kept their bodies low, binding, stitching, amputating. Assistant Surgeon Thompson placing those too badly injured to survive in rows at the back of the square, where they could die gazing at the sky, not under the hooves of cavalry horses. That had been hours back. The wheat was now a swamp of blood and mud. The sun drooped halfway to the horizon, spreading an orange glow through black and yellow smoke. Horses shrieked in challenge or died, their cries guttural among the shouts and moans of men. Somewhere across the ridge, Napoleon and Wellington must still be urging on their troops. The ground trembled from cannon fire and horses' hoofs. Hen's bonnet sat on the muck-soaked soil, holding surgical instruments. Her cap had become a cover for an amputated thigh. She still wore the coat, despite the heat, for she had mislaid her apron. Even her plaits had come loose, a nuisance, as she had to keep pushing the hair from her eyes as she worked, gold now streaked with blood. She bit off the final piece of thread from the stomach wound and began to stitch the boy's face. 3 quick stitches merely to hold the cut together, rather than the 16 that would have meant less scarring. There was no time at Waterloo for neatness. Hen moved to the next man lined up against the wall of bodies. A veteran, for his red uniform had faded to pink, 30 perhaps, and dead. She laid a blood-stiff coat over his face so her father would not waste time on a soldier beyond man's aid, and wiped the tears from her cheeks. The dead man deserved tears, even if she didn't know his name. The man lying beside him, a captain by his uniform, opened eyes as blue as the sky above the smoke and cloud. He stared at Hen and raised a trembling hand to touch her hair. "I am in heaven, then." "Not yet, I warrant, sir." Hen sliced open his trousers to try to find the source of the blood still pooling on the ground. If the blood flowed, they were still alive. "How goes the battle, Captain?" "Lost."